Okay, air conditioner isn't running, and we have two units on this house. One's upstairs, one's downstairs, and I knew that this one was replaced a couple of months ago, so I came out. First thing I did was come out and check the disconnect to make sure that there wasn't a separate disconnect for the other unit that's not working, and thought maybe they had unplugged it or something, because hardly anyone goes in the upstairs part of this house now. What I found was that wires that come from the air handler unit as part of the thermostat operation were mangled badly, and were bare. As you can see, one of them still bare here, and so it looks like somebody got a hold of it with a weed eater, and these wires were pretty exposed. So I repaired that. I used these Scotch lock connectors. These connectors are great for wire from about 20 to 24 gauge, and they have a little button on them. See that little orange button there that's raised, and there's petroleum jelly inside of these connectors. So you don't strip your wire or anything, you just put both ends up in the connector and squeeze it with a pair of pliers. I like to use rubber grip pliers because they squeeze evenly. They're not scissored like a regular pair of pliers, which can cause these little buttons to go crooked. You can do it with a regular pair of pliers if you're real careful, but I just keep the rubber grips handy because they're easy to use for this purpose. So I fixed this. Unit still didn't come on. Thermostat has no power, and now we're going to go upstairs into the attic and take a look at the air handler and see what we can find. Once we get everything finished, I'll come back out here and get these wires wrapped real good and protected and out of the way, so that hopefully this doesn't happen again. And we'll be back to update you with repairs once I check out the unit in the attic. Okay, so here's what the outside of the unit looks like in the attic, and what you want to look for is a set of breakers on an electric unit like this. And as you can see, this one's kind of covered up by this skin to keep the moisture and the heat and condensation out. And there's two breakers in here. One of them operates the heating elements, one of them operates the blower and the fan. So you have to take this panel off. There's 4 screws in it, and usually those are slotted flathead screws. So I brought an interchangeable screwdriver with me, but as you can see, those are hex nuts. I got real lucky because this, for some reason, the hex part of this screwdriver is a little larger than normal. They're normally 7mm. Now this one's about 8 or 9mm, and it fit right on there. So I got lucky. I'd be making another trip down to get some more tools, and so we'll take this panel off and we'll see what's going on. Okay, we're up in the attic now, and as you can see, I've got my headlamp. It's similar to a coal miner's light. It's one of the handiest tools I ever purchased, and allows me to be hand-free with something like this. And recommend when you come up into somewhere like this, because it's usually not a fun thing to do, bring an assortment of tools with you. I brought an interchangeable screwdriver that's Phillips and flathead, and also brought a pair of nice heavy pair of pliers, and an extra flashlight, a really bright LED flashlight. Gives me a broad light, and don't want to bring a ton of stuff up because you don't want to overload yourself. The air handler was these two breakers up here. This breaker was blown, and what was happening was I could turn it on and it would kick the 240 volt breaker down in the panel, and go down and turn it on, and it would kick this breaker. So it's toggling back and forth. This breaker controls the heating elements. So more than likely this is unrelated, and we have a bad heating element and didn't know it. So I'll have to attack that problem separately. This breaker controls the blower and all the control panels and everything, so I've got it turned off right now for safety. And inside there's a transformer that supplies the low voltage. All this electronic equipment has to run off a low voltage, as well as the thermostat. There's 2 wires here. One goes to your thermostat, the other goes to the condenser unit that's outside. That way when the thermostat kicks everything on, it turns on the unit, the air handler, and the condenser at the same time. And you got really pretty simple electronics set up here to to run everything. Heating and cooling is not a complicated thing if you just understand the basics of electricity and how these things can work. This fuse, as you can see here, it's a 5 amp 24 volt fuse, and you can see this one's blown, and so I've replaced that fuse. And what happened with those mangled wires outside that I showed you, when those shorted out, it blew this fuse and kept everything from working. So I've replaced the fuse. If that had not fixed it, I would have either probably needed to replace this board or the transformer. So I'd have checked the voltage on the transformer first. If it was good, then I need to probably check into replacing this board. One of them controls, as you can see here, all these wires are all spliced together. There's some wires from the thermostat that go to this board that controls the air handler unit and the air conditioning, and a few of them go over to another board that controls the heating elements for the heat in the wintertime. So one or the other, you can isolate which one's not working or which one might be causing the problem. And like I said, I'll have to attack this problem with the heating element later on, and maybe worry about that when fall gets here and a little bit closer to winter when we need the heat. And the heating elements probably won't be too hard to replace, shouldn't be a big deal, and we'll save ourselves a lot of money. And now for the real test, I'm going to flip the breaker on to the air handler, and I can hear it buzzing, and there you see the blower start up, and we're all set and ready to go. And we'll now we've probably saved ourselves about a $100 or $200 service call, and hope this helps someone out. This was a Payne air handler and unit, so they're all going to be very similar how they're set up, at least for an electric heating and cooling system anyway. So hopefully this helps someone out and help you save a few bucks, and appreciate you watching.